All right, welcome back to the Nut Bar Seasonal Anime Podcast. It is the winter season, but we're not focusing on that right now. We're going to focus on the fall season of anime, which wrapped up a couple of weeks ago. We got hot takes coming in about all these shows that ended, and before we get right into it, um, I thought about doing this and being like, "Oh, check out our award show that's coming up," but this is probably not coming out before then, so if you haven't had the opportunity yet, the video before this one is probably the Nut Bar Anime Awards for 2024. This is our crowning jewel of an achievement every single year. We review all of the anime from 2024. We give them awards in different categories. We have a good time. So check it out if you haven't. But without further ado, let's hop into this. So we're going to start off with Blue Lock, Season
All right,
2, You
Blue
versus
Lock.
20 Japan.
So I haven't watched all of season two because that first couple episodes of season two, it was just an absolute animation hell that I've ever seen. It's insane, which is a real shame because like I was really looking forward to this part of Blue Lock because the whole U20 versus Japan game, like it is so fucking good in the manga, and then the animation really screwed that up. And because of that, I'm like, I'm not gonna worry about watching it this season. And then on the final episode, they pull their shit together and they're like, all right, we're locking in. We're blue
Blue
locking in,
Locking,
baby.
if you will.
And I haven't seen the whole thing, but like, oh god, that looks so good. That is the animation I've been expecting for this arc. So, uh, Tim, how far did you get into season two?
0 episodes.
That's
Zero?
just
You
you,
didn't watch
King.
any of it?
I didn't watch any of it.
Man, okay. Well, I guess my review of this season is to read the manga, and then once you get to like chapter, I don't know. I know it's volume 17. Yeah, volume 17. Once you like get to that point, then watch that episode, and then there you go. You've seen season two
Or you
of
can
Blue
just read
Lock.
the manga. The anime's not worth
Dude,
it.
the manga is so
I
fucking
think I
like.
think it's at least I'll give the credit to where credit is due. It is better for a show to implode, deteriorate, and then get good at quality at the very end when it matters the most than what is usually what happens, which is that shows tank, fall off a cliff, and stay awful. Which is like I'm thinking of like Dororo as an example of that.
Well,
Where they just like
we have an
crater in
opposite
quality.
example of that
Yeah.
down the line. I don't. We'll
Well,
get to that
yeah,
when we get to that.
exactly. Yeah, that's a quite a example. But yeah, that's Blue Lock. Anything else?
Nah, that's about it for Blue Light for me.
Okay, well, we're gonna start hot by talking about one of the most popular shows. So here's Dandadan. Someone else want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. I'll start with Dandadan then. So Dandadan was really good. I think that it's a real triumph of animation. It's got a very clear sense of style. All the action scenes are just gorgeous. Um, it's good.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
good. Well,
I,
Thanks, Logan.
I feel like Dandadan is good in a lot of very obvious ways though. Like it's hard to talk about because it's just you see it on the screen, you know?
but just in case
Ugh.
you haven't seen it on the screen, we as podcasters are going to try to talk about it. So I'm going to go over some of the things that maybe are a little bit obvious. I think that Dandadan excels in pretty much all fields at the same time, which is like not something I can say about every anime. I think that it is incredibly good shown in action. It is incredibly funny. Like it's basically wiener jokes the anime, and that sounds immature, but they just hit every single time. Um, it's got, and also it's maybe the best rom com of the year at the same time. I
Whoa,
don't know
hold
how
the
it managed.
horses there, bud.
I don't know how
Ooh.
much or how it is able to really thread all these needles at the same time, but it does, and that's kind of a miracle. And also, it's Science Saru, so it's being animated out the ass. It is simply put maybe the most fun you're gonna have with anime this year. I think if you could quantify it that way, at least for me.
For me, I think Dandadan was like my most anticipated anime of 2024, and god damn did it deliver. Because holy shit, like as we said, like the animation is like absolutely incredible. The comedy is top notch. surprise rom-com is great, and the action is incredible. It has some of the most unique fight scenes I've ever seen in
Yeah.
an anime. Like, I've been watching anime for a fucking while now. We're fucking old heads. Like, the Loch Ness monster fight, like an entirely like underwater fight where your main characters are humans. Like, it is insane how they were able to like pull that off.
Or
Like,
like
oh my,
the first arc, the train fight, which is just like spectacularly animated
yeah,
the entire
dude,
way through.
like the whole like running through the city while playing that one classical music piece is so funny. Uh, this entire show is everything I've wanted and more.
The show is very bombastic. It's very fun. It's very erratic, and it carries that energy throughout the show, and it's entertaining because of it. I think the concept of combining the supernatural cult and like sci-fi is feels like it should have been an obvious thing to have done before, but I can't really think of any cases where it has done it, and I think they like combined those two masterfully. I didn't know what to expect about the show going in. I went through it completely blind, and it was like off the rails, crazy from the get-go. I think the banana scene probably didn't. The whole episode 1 banana stripping thing was a little bit much, but I think they like
It was the
tinkered
first
it in,
chapter.
and I think they've learned where to draw the line, and they've been doing a really good job.
I think that they
I
conga
think-
dance on the line and pretty much, and like in a way that I think could have gone too far at several moments. I don't think the anime has once really made me
I think
uncomfortable.
we're too used to like
Worse
anime
stuff, yeah, that's fair.
standards, where like our sense of like what's the limit
I
is
wouldn't
very
show this to
different
my
from like normal
mom,
people.
but you know, if you're into
Exactly.
if you're into schlocky stuff, I think that it is tasteful.
I wouldn't go up to like someone at like a coffee cafe and pull up episode 1 and be like, "Here, watch this episode."
I think it
know?
depends on the
I wouldn't show
cafe.
them episode 1, but I'd show them like maybe like episode 4. or something.
Exactly. That's why I think episode 1 kind of like teetered the line a bit, but I think they found the line pretty quickly, and it's been fine no matter what. I think the show does a great job at balancing not just like crazy, over the top action and fun, but also like the more emotional moments. I think one of the most memorable episodes this season was the backstory
Yeah,
for Silky, whatever her
Yeah.
name
Yeah,
was.
ballerina.
The
Acrobatic
ballerina
Acrobatic
backstory.
Silky, yeah.
Probably one of the best episodes of the year.
Yeah.
as
How
far
do
as
we
like
not mention
storytelling.
that
in
is
any of
silly.
our reviews until Tim. That is insane.
Definitely a highlight. I also think the voice acting was done out of the ass for this one.
yeah.
The
everyone's
main
great.
one, Shimokayama, was initially someone I kind of like threw off as like a one-note character because all of her previous roles has been pretty mediocre. Like she was the glasses girl in the Gohan, and she was the protag in the Gridman sequel thing.
Oh yeah,
But
her.
like this year she's been really like killing it this year. She with between this role and Lemon, I think she's like really elevated her voice acting. Someone I definitely got to watch out for in the future.
I think all
Well,
of the
yeah.
voice acting people in this. I think the Turbo Granny VA is really good. I think.
Well, I mean, that's fucking.
I mean, that's fucking Luffy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Like, she's,
I'm just
she
saying,
is a
It's a
veteran
pretty all
voice
caps
actor.
list. I think
think-
everyone on this list has been veteran voice actor. They've all done his job. She's just particularly surprising because she was one that I wouldn't consider veteran like high tier voice actor, but she's like
But
shown that
now
she
she
can.
is.
Yeah, this is a
She can own
standout
up
role.
shit. She can reach
standout
the-
performance. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
this and
for
Lemon. It's a good year for her, is what we're saying. Tune in for
Who's
the
Lemon?
VA awards. I will really quick before I think we spend. But I guess we could spend the whole show on Dandadan. That's not a bad thing. But I just want to compliment the character writing in this. I think is what I like the most out of everything. And saying that in a show with the level of like visual animation and action, which is something that I usually like the most in shows. But I love every single character that they have introduced in this show. Like even some of the side characters, like the Mantis punching guy,
Dude,
the
he's
whole
so
cow
good.
arc. What a good boy.
Mhm.
But the main two characters are some of my favorite main characters in anything I've ever seen. They are incredibly endearing, and watching them interact rules. And even characters that are set up to be obnoxious, like Ira and
GG.
Gigi are also just. I love Gigi. Gigi is my goat. What a good character, and they're like immediately given depth and complexity, despite also kind of sucking ass at first, and that I think is a measure of a very good and talented writer. So shout outs to the mangaka for that, and then shout outs to the anime team at Science Saru for bringing it all together.
I
This
do
one,
want to point out that there's kind of like a formula like already forming, and like it's already like really good. Like you introduce a character, you introduce like what their struggles are, you have the paranormal fight scene, you resolve that, and then there's just like a break, or like you have the characters like
Just
having
some
a
real
dinner.
life stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, and then like having like a slice of life stuff, which is honestly some of the best episodes of the show. Just the slice of life stuff, and
The
then the
episode,
cycle continues. We introduce a new character.
I can't remember which episode it was. It was like episode 5 or 6, but it was the one that was almost entirely at school and was focused on Momo's and Okaru's relationship. Is maybe my favorite episode aside from the acrobatic silky one, I would say, in the whole show. It was just exceptional TV. Yeah, this one is, I think, a pretty immediate front runner for the entire year. I think we all kind of knew it was going to be, which sucks because it's already a stacked year. Tune into the awards to see how that shake out.
Dude, the
For
fucking
everybody.
episode with the one after they save Ira. So like they're just like back at school, and like they have to deal with the repercussions of showing up naked at school.
Yeah.
That entire episode was just gold, comedy gold.
It's really funny, and I think that is quite an achievement.
This show it has it all.
It does.
It's funny, it's romantic, it's action, it's so good.
So yeah, if you somehow haven't watched Dandadan yet, definitely watch it. My only thing to say is that it does not end. They just episode 12 episode 12 is a huge cliffhanger. It suspends in the middle of an incredibly intense action scene where all of the characters are in danger. And so if you want conclusions, maybe wait to start it until next summer when season 2 is about to come out. But if you can deal with it, I think it's worth catching up. And so even despite that complaint, which is obviously just like, oh, I wish there was more, I'm very happy with this.
They
Anything
could have
else?
stopped it like one episode earlier.
I
and
do-
been
I do-
totally fine.
I think
Let's
they
just
did it
see
on
the
purpose.
goals of them to been like, let's just start in the middle of this. Let's just start this arc 20 minutes in and then
I mean,
stop.
like,
it maybe, like,
I
6
get the
months.
reasoning they
It's-
wanted to introduce Gigi because like he's like a part of the main four,
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could have done Gigi before going to his home. Like he was introduced for a while before like this arc kind of started. Like in
No.
the
I mean,
you're talking
then
about,
they'd
like, in the
still-
mid-season arc thing that you're talking about, the Goofy arc. They could have ended it in that part without starting the actual next arc, which they did.
Yeah, but then that still would have left us hanging on like, why is Gigi like what's
It's
with
better
those
than
like
what they left us
weird
right now in the
flashbacks that
middle
we
of a
had. Look,
fucking very high intense.
I
I had
think
such
only
a
3
strong
months.
opinion about like don't end on cliffhangers like that.
Which I think is valid. I think it'll be okay.
It's,
I'll
it's
make
fine.
I would
Like,
be
I
upset
could've
if we
stop it
didn't
somewhere,
know-
but like surely there's a better place you could have ended it
I
than
don't
like
know,
literally
man.
the worst possible time you could have ended
I
it.
would have enjoyed one more episode. I think it would have been nice, but yeah, I think like what Logan was about to say. If it wasn't confirmed for season 2 as airing in the summer, then I would be a lot more mad too. Yeah, but like we know it's coming out, so
And I think they know that people are really enjoying it. So I think this is going to be like Science Saru's like big anime that's going to be running for a while.
I don't know about that. They have a lot of projects
Do
coming.
you think they're going to hand it off to Mappa eventually?
I hope not. I hope they
No.
keep it.
Like Mappa only does that with wit.
Okay.
basically.
True.
Let's move on. We've spent a lot of time on it, which it deserved, but lots of time. All right, this is going to be the first Tim Power Hour, so these are all going to be shows that we didn't watch and Tim did. So get us going.
All right, Aqua Trip, very lighthearted and fun. It is like the nice version of the BDSM Mahashoujo we got earlier this year, but unfortunately it got bogged down by trying to be a semi-serious plot. Kind of meh. Goken, next show, it is the way the couples develop and progress through their relationship was much cuter and much more in depth than the premise initially gave off. It's definitely a sleeper hitter. I would recommend that for people. And don't get turned off by the Kurz guy's feelings. Mirai no Koi, despite or even because of the elimination that the anime had going for it, this one managed to thrive in its environment and turn this into a very compelling, hilarious romantic comedy. It actually might be in the runner for best romance of the year based on how it actually turned out.
That
to be.
is so surprising.
It
Is it like still a
very
PowerPoint?
It is still PowerPoint, but like they make it work. I don't know how to explain it, but they do make it work.
Okay.
It's not like fucking Gakuso or whatever the other one was that Netflix did, where it was
Yeah.
like a little sideshow. It leans and uses the limit emission to its benefit at times. It works. Granted, I think I don't know. I don't know if it would be better watch more animated or not, but like it's fun.
That is still very surprising because this one seemed so trashy.
Magi Luminea, even though there was slight production narrative shortfall throughout the show, I think this show takes the very overused Mahou Shoujo tropes and put enough of a spin of a twist to it to make it feel refreshing, to give me hope that there's more that this genre can offer besides the like Edge Lord Madoka kind of shows or like the BDSM one that we've been getting. I have hope that this genre can go places because of this one. But
I
this
will
show might
say,
not
I
be
will
it.
give, just because of the mid-season getting cut. We got 3 episodes into this one, and I thought the beginning was really good, and it was kind of settling into something that I found a little bit less engaging and less interesting, and kind of this workplace like comedy show. And I didn't like most of the characters very much, which is like unfortunately a death knell for a lot of anime for me. So that's why I ended up dropping it.
I forgot who you were watching it with.
Everybody, I think, but that's okay.
What, Magi Lumiere?
Yeah,
Yeah, we only got 2 episodes in. I don't think we ever
I
saw.
thought we
episode
watched
3.
3. I can't remember.
think we did.
It's been a while.
But yeah, we
anyways.
just ended up dropping it just because like
Yeah.
You had to make
animation
cuts.
quality really dropped after
Yeah,
the
it
first
did
episode.
get a lot worse.
We knew it was gonna be rough in the PV. I don't know. I feel like you should have low expectation for the
I didn't have the highest
Production.
expectations. So
like. Yeah, PV was already really rough.
I'm also
With the
burnt out
compositing
on
and
Magical
whatnot.
Girls.
mhm.
A little bit.
But I like I said, I agree that I think it gives me hope of there's more to this genre than what we've been giving, because I think it was enough of a refreshing take that I could hopefully see other similar spin-offs coming off. Anyways, Mado, truly suffering from identity crisis. This show had no idea what it wanted to be and became a weird mishmash of a slice of life action, assassination, romance, but at least it was pretty.
Hold on.
can you-
I want to comment on this one.
Okay.
I watched episode 1 of this, and I feel like I got the whole vibe of what it was going to be like, and I am
You
so disappointed at how much work went into this show and how little of the work went on to making the characters like any more than cardboard cutout types. I don't know. Like I just think that they really went in on what they wanted the maid girl to be like, and they didn't, I don't know, flesh much of it out. And even then, she's pretty flat too. Like she really likes sauce. She I don't know. I didn't love episode 1 of this. I thought it was pretty bad. OP's really good though.
OP is fucking incredible, dude.
It's definitely in the short list for openings of the year for me. Very, very beautiful. I
You'll
think
be
there's a behind the
surprised on my
scene
list.
for it that's just got dropped
Ooh,
recently.
I will watch that. I
should
love
check
the
out.
band that made it. So
What
can
was
you
it again?
they're called Tricot or Trico. I don't know
Tricot, yeah, yeah,
how you
yeah.
pronounce
Tricot,
it.
yeah.
I need to listen to
Yeah.
more of the music.
Kiniko Inu. This is what I wanted Negaposi to be actually. It
Really?
starts off as a very like melancholic, kind of depressing show in the first episode, but it like turns into a more uplifting that kind of doesn't forget its roots. The first episode hits very like hard emotionally, but then it finds its drive later on, and it ends up being a really cute, fun show for me.
How's the
The-
visuals? That's my one question, because I really
Yeah,
didn't
the
like
visuals
how
look
the
great, yeah.
how the humans looked in the show at all. It put me off a lot.
Bare bones.
Okay,
I don't know. It's
the dog.
the dog. You want to pick care
Yeah,
about. You
the
don't give a
dog's
shit about the humans. Akuyaku, better than I expected. Despite being like I don't know, the 10th villainous anime in the last few years, this one like retains the basic requirement of needed to become a villainous show and didn't throw out the window. But it also wasn't superficial where like all that defined the show was the tropes. It kind of managed to keep its own identity as well. Kind of, I think people kind of off by the romance, but I didn't think it was that weird. But yeah, I think that's it for the first 10 power hour.
Okay. All right. Moving on to Mecha Ude Mechanical Arms. So
Dude,
this was
this show was so fun.
This was a original production based on a short that the same studio had worked on. So it's kind of like a passion project from an indie anime studio, which I think is really neat. I have like, don't let this mal score like phase you. I think that this show deserves a lot of respect for just being a really well put together, mostly independent production. And like that alone, just from the visual quality and the animation quality and the fights, and just kind of like how generally competently made it is for a bunch of people that haven't really worked on very much before. Props, just mad props for there.
I'll give props for that. The production for like a very indie kind of thing, it definitely stands up amongst like some of the biggest studios in the industry. I think they did a really good job production wise. I think its shortfalling is with maybe they like didn't think very much after the first, their first initial short about how the story's going to go, because it felt a little janky to me, and the pacing was like off the rails as well.
Yes, the pacing is my biggest complaint. I'll talk about a bit more about that in a second, I think.
But... Oh, do you want to say something real quick?
Yeah. So, fuck everything that these two have been saying. This show is so fucking fun. Like I'm a shonen head at heart. And god damn, it is fulfill my shonen head needs. Oh my god, it was so fun.
This show is very earnestly a classic shonen in a way that I think is pretty fun. I like, it doesn't try to necessarily rock the boat. It throws out a lot of what I would consider to be like classic I have to fight for my friends shonen truisms, but it backs them up with some really fun action, and like it's just very genuine in a way that I am a fan of.
Yeah. I see a lot of myself in Mecha Ude.
How much of it is that it's tangential to Kill la Kill? Because I think I was gonna say there is some. I think there's a lot of Trigger DNA in this show, and very specifically Kill la Kill DNA. And that I think a lot of the arms are a lot like Senketsu.
Which honestly, I think it kind of should have been like that.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I think all the Senketsu shouldn't have been the only sentient one. Like I think.
You think they all should have been talking?
Maybe not Satsuki's. I think that kind of like adds to it, kind of being like a mysterious thing. But that's this show. This review isn't about Kill la Kill. It's about
I think it's fine that Senketsu's a unique character, but I think that the best part of Mecha Ude is the mechanical arms and their relationships with their humans. I think that typically I really like both of Aki's twin arms. I think that it's just it's really fun to kind of, especially towards the beginning when you're like, oh, some of them are bad, and then you start to realize that like, no, actually all of the mechanical arms are really nice and they all love their humans, and there might be some people
no
who are
bad
abusing
arms.
them.
There's only bad humans.
There's only bad people. Yeah, they're all nice.
Trainers.
all the Transformers. I mean, TBD. This is a trademark because honestly, I think a lot of this rips off the plot of Transformers quite a lot.
Does it? I've never seen a Transformer.
Yes, they borrow very heavily from Transformers lore in this.
Transformers. Okay.
They had a dying planet of original like sentient robots, and there's like a core that's the Allspark basically, and also there's two like main guys, a good guy and a bad guy, and they both used to be good. Yeah, that's Optimus Prime and Megatron. Yeah, I was gonna say
a lot of Transformers.
Yeah.
Okay,
I want to watch Transformers 1. I've heard good things.
Yeah.
As someone who binged the last 8 episodes, can I ask you some plot questions that I was a little confused on?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so spoilers.
Spoilers for Mecha Ude. No one cares. It's not the complicated.
So the hero armed guy was controlling both teams from the beginning at all times, right?
Sure.
Yeah, the villain, yes.
Right. Yeah, the villain, the true villain, was controlling both sides of the same. He was both the good guy and the bad guy. He was in charge of them both.
Yes.
Why did he need to have to be 2 factions? Why didn't he just have them all just join under one umbrella? Why did he need to make the facades that there was 2 factions?
I think he was like looking for someone with like a high amount of.
Yeah, he was. I think just trying to look for people. Yeah, that had the high amount of energy.
So, like,
and he had to trick everyone underneath him to do that. He can have like his entire like team in the know, and only the new guy that they're looking for be the one.
I think Tim, the real answer is it works better as a twist than it does as a narrative. Like and that like much like with most of Mecha Ude, it works just well enough if you follow along through its incredibly like breakneck pacing because they just kind of shower you with a bunch of information as you go through all these action set pieces, and maybe you're not keeping up all the way, but I think that most of the story beats work on their own. Like, sure, some of like there's a bunch of shit about like and the history of the two brothers in the 1900s or whatever that found these two twin arms, and then one of them is still alive somehow, but he's a reanimated corpse. And it gets really silly.
It got very bogged down in the second half. I think for me, Mecha Ude hit its peak with the sister fight arc thing.
I agree that was good. I think the best characters are the kids. I think the main character, the green-haired guy, and the
Are there any non-kids in here? Aren't they all kids basically?
well, there's some adults too, and June and
are, like,
Aki or
all-
whatever. I think that the relationship with the main character was really interesting. It's a good little trio. I think June is the coolest character in the show. I think they do
green-haired
the
guy?
best. Yeah, I think they do the best job with him and his arc. Because I think Hikaru kind of gets a little bit repetitive with some of his stuff, which just kind of boils down to
I mean, yeah,
him
he's
being
very like
self-confident.
generic shonen
Yeah.
hero.
But
Well,
he
June
is
only
very
got-
good at punching stuff. So
June only got his character towards the very end, so I didn't have time to like drag him out.
I don't know. I thought the stuff
I
with
think
the
the show-
snake was cool, but
Had a lot of style, was a lot of fun. I think if you start looking too closely, you'll start to see a bunch of cracks. So
I agree. But I don't think that makes it bad. I think there are shows.
I think
with,
it
like,
does make it bad, but I just think you can easily ignore them if you don't, try to focus on it.
Do you guys think this show would have been better if it was 24 episodes?
Yes. I think it would have been much better if it was double the length and that we had a little bit more time to spend on fleshing out some of the characters and the actual macro narrative. I think it would have helped a lot. Even like
Would it
even like
been
18
better-
episodes.
24? Would you think it's been a 6 if they ended it early and didn't go through the whole brother Allspark arc?
I think the Brother Allspark arc is.
I think
good.
if they had focused more on that initial arc in the core one and then had a second core a season later, then focused on the back half, and they had maybe spent a little bit more time thinking about how the plot was going to work, and they like wrote it a little bit better, then that would have worked. I think the last fight was really cool too.
God, that last fight.
I
I mean,
think
all
it's-
the fights in general are just like really cool to watch.
Yeah, really.
it was a
neat.
cool fight, but it got a little repetitive about how often they were fighting over the cube.
I don't know. I just thought it was fun to watch. It was a cool display
like-
of animation.
Let's seal it. Let's unseal. Let's fight the unsealed arm. Let's reseal it. It was
I can still, despite misgivings and stuff, I can still generally recommend this show if you like shonen action. I think it does a pretty good job. And the OST is great. They got
my
Sawano
God.
on it.
Sawano. Yeah, I mean it's Sawano. You can't go.
Dude, having a Sawano original work on something good, quote, better than what he normally works on. Oh, it's so nice.
So,
Like I said, this is an indie studio, so I'll give massive props for them
yeah, I think that really can
doing.
explain away some of the issues in a lot of ways. Like I said, it's just a cool
Yeah.
passion project.
If I want to compare it as to other indies, I think this is definitely one of the best of the best. But if I was going to compare it to like, the big corporate
This could have
studios, then this one,
this
That's a
could have
buggle,
been
but I think it's
this
still
could
good.
have been bad. That's all I'm going to say. Is like this could have been stupid and contrived and like not fun and annoying and basic. And I think that they are like there's just so many little quirks with how the characters work. Like the one shipper girl that is like crazy and following them around
oh
everywhere.
my
I think
god,
she's fun.
There's a lot of little things that I think are just very fun, both in the way that it is expressed through animation and like some of the writing quirks that like I don't know. I think this could have been a much worse show, and I'm very glad it wasn't. And that's how I'm gonna end it. So,
I mean, like, if anything, like, I'm excited for this studio's.
yeah,
Like,
I'm
next
excited.
project.
Yeah, I would like to see what they come out with in a couple of years. I think
Like,
I will.
this
I'll
is
have
a
an eye
good
on it.
freshman project for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's insanely good for our freshman project.
Okay, let's move on to a wildly different show from this year. One of the few originals. I guess Negaposi was also an original too. Negaposi Angler.
Oh yeah, Negaposi Angler. So this show is very, very melancholic, but it also has like like a very not comedy per se, but definitely like more slice of life
Yeah,
where it's like the main character like fighting out the stories of like every person, every character like in the convenience store that he works at, and like everyone is just so unique.
Yeah,
Like
a very good cast of characters in this one.
the Thai character who's like a model as a secondary job,
Cosplayer, yeah.
and then the
Ice.
fucking old guy who's like obsessed with cars is that episode was really funny.
And then the other dude who's the really good chef. There is just a great little cast of characters in this one. And I also think that this show excels at being like a club show, basically, like a special interest club show. There is a lot about fishing, and it really feels to me the most like a show kind of like Euro Camp, in that like here's all the very specific gear that we use for our specific hobby, and this is what's better than others, and this is how you use it. And I think that if you can get behind and like kind of get into that, like, oh, that's really interesting, you'll probably like the show a lot.
I think I would agree that if I was going to sell this anime to someone, it would be like if you like fishing or want to learn, interested in learning about a hobby, watch this show. I, after finishing the show, am not a big fan of them doing the whole suicide arc at the beginning at the end, just because I feel there's a huge disconnect between the like depressing, emotional, he was lost about to die part, and the more like upbeat fishing, chill, learn more about fishing and have fun kind of thing. And I think that would have been fine at both of them there if they like more better intertwined the two together about like how one affected him. And they kind of do that to some extent, but I don't think it's enough where it feels like it's smoothly connected the two. I think the best connection was probably the roommate dude, but that went on its own like emotional tangent and like didn't really connect too well to the fishing.
I think it makes sense because I think that at its core, he's using this fishing as a means of escape to not have to think about his situation.
It loosely it does, but I feel like it didn't like connect as well as
I
should
really
have.
liked episode, I can't remember, it was like 9 or 10 when the drama was reintroduced and we first got that very serious confrontation between the two roommate main characters. I thought that was a really good episode. I thought they were doing a really good job of bringing it back to the very serious subject matter the show started on. But even if at the beginning it was more played for comedy, like dark comedy, I think that they were able to be really earnestly dramatic and then kind of bring it into being about the pink-haired guy's brother and how he died early and all that too. I think the conclusion to that was a little bit weaker than the start of it, which ultimately kind of made it not work quite as well for me. I thought that it was a little flat at the very end, but overall I liked this show. I thought it was unique. I thought it was well made. It was a good special interest, so I really like the cast. I think it's one of the better casts of anything this year. I think that I like Ice a lot. I just think they did a good job of fleshing people out.
I love Taimiku so much.
I kind of wish they went a little bit more in depth with them though. Like I think they each have their own unique quirks and personality, but they lack a bit of depth to them. Like sure, they each have their own like, oh, she's the cosplayer, he's cooking and stuff, but like they don't have the like meat that like the pink hair guy does or the main the main dude has. So I kind of wish they spent maybe a little more time going more into them. I guess the manager got a little bit more meat when his like.
I like that episode.
I want to be bond with the son. That was neat. I wish all the characters had something like that, where we learn a little bit more about them rather than one trope.
For how prominent she is, the main girl with the blue hair, Hana, with the big poofy hair.
Yes.
For the amount of screen time she has, does not really get a bunch of development except for kind of being like the fishing guru that's the best at it. I think it works okay, but I agree. I think we could have done with a little bit more fleshing out of the cast, but it's kind of hard when you have a big cast like this at only 12.
Oh yeah, it's a huge cast.
Yeah.
So
which is why I feel like
was my complaint about another show this year, which is Girls Band Cry. It's just hard when you only have 12 episodes to flesh everybody out. So
I would have opted less emotional thing for it and for more of the cast. I think they made it just here's a full special interest fishing cast show and just did all that. I think the show would have been totally fine as it is. That being said, it sounds like I'm hating on the drama. I didn't like the drama. I did like the drama, but it just felt very whiplashy. It felt like I won't say a completely different show, but felt like two different storylines that didn't need to be together.
I think despite the very, very end, I think it was mostly well handled, and I still like this show and would recommend it. I think this is one of the better shows of this season.
This was absolutely a great show. I don't know how it's gonna rank overall.
We'll
probably
get
not
there
within the top 10, but like I still think like it's a good show.
It was solid. I think I was impressed with this.
Like
Okay.
I do not regret watching this show seasonally whatsoever.
Okay. I think we're gonna move on now. This is the mini Tim Power Hour Part 2.
Oh, back to this already?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Not a lot of shows we've watched
Uh,
this season.
yeah, so you said it's one of the best show of the season. Doesn't go very far. Okay. Starting with 2.5, the Jiken something. This anime was kind of overlooked. It may be compared a lot to Dress Up Darling, and it may be inferior to Dress Up Darling in a lot of ways, like
That's what I think about it
production
as
wise.
whenever it comes up.
Yeah.
The romance is probably better than Dress Up Darling and a lot of other things.
Mm.
But I think what this show does have over Dress Up Darling is that it has a lot of heart and passion for the occupation and culture that Dress Up Darling couldn't match, because Dress Up Darling feels more like a romance using cosplay as a medium to tell the story, while this one is mainly has like cosplay and toku as the medium, and the romance is kind of like the backstory to it and on the side. So this one really surprised me of how much I enjoyed it. KCON something marriage, 100 days to get marriage.
Yeah, 365 days to the wedding.
365.
Oh, that show.
Yeah. Well, the main couple of this one managed to be even more clueless than like a pair of elementary kids about dating, and I think their romance is pretty poorly executed. The main highlight for this show, for me, is once again the side cast and their romantic troubles, where they showed that like romance, they show like the more like kind of grim, realistic obstacles that life has in dating that I haven't seen anywhere else. Like they have like a guy who likes to girl, but she's like single mom, and then he's like gripping the fact of would he be able to support her and the kid, and he kind of had to like not toss it, but like move on from her because he realized it was too much for him to handle, despite his initial like, oh, I love you, I'll do anything for you. And I think that was like pretty neat. That I don't really see like realistic things for that. You see like a happy married couple or married couple fall apart, and it was kind of like jarring for me to see this kind of darker sides, but it ended up being like obviously the main highlight just because the main couple was like really whatever. But yeah, it was interesting over that aspect for sure. MF Go's second season. Between the first and second season of this anime, I actually went back and watched all of the original Initial D, and I feel like I have a better understanding of what this author and this franchise really is. And for Initial D is definitely superior to MF Ghost in that the racing was much more engaging and exhilarating, and of course it had the better music track for that one. MF Ghost doesn't really quite wire up the same hype. That being said, Initial D was essentially just a series of race back to back with little to no plot throughout the franchise, where I feel like this one has a lot more characterization and story development throughout the show, and it's already getting like a third season, and the manga just ended, so I think they're just going to adapt all of it at this point. So yeah, it's been good, interesting to see the difference now that I've seen both franchises and to see where it goes. Next is Love Live. Love Live, people here won't care, but it's pretty unprecedented that Love Live gets a third season. They've never done it before.
Oh, really?
And
I didn't know that.
yes, it's always been two seasons.
It's like
That's
Valve.
it. Yes, Love Live is the Valve. So it was interesting to see what kind of, there was a lot of interesting ideas and arcs explored in the first half, but it also kind of a lot of questionable one that caused the show to fall apart in the last half. I think a movie would have been better off for this, and with them tackling some of the more interesting story, like the Chinese girl had her own little arc where they all went to like Shanghai. I think that could have been a perfect like movie package. But I think this was I hope this was a very good learning lesson on how to better expand the franchise in the future. Obviously the music was good. I just wish they kind of nailed the ending and the last couple of arcs more, because they kind of fell off pretty badly in the end. Mode 29 was from the initial premise and what Juan and I was like hyped about, was it felt like a very like silly, goofy kind of popcorn show, trashy show to watch. That's really a lot of fun, and it is that. But it was also much more competently written than I expected. And I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. Well, I mean, normally it's a good thing, but like I feel like I wanted more trash things. Like, for example, because you guys didn't hear about this last time. So like the demon lord guy gets reincarnated, and he decides to become like a streamer after seeing a VTuber thing, which was like haha funny, kind of goofy gag, and he plays like Dark Souls and stuff. It's like, oh haha, look cool, look at that, it's Elden Ring. But he actually like connects to his power, because how his power works is like the more people know about him, the stronger he gets. So like there is like logical and thought put into like, oh, he's not just a streamer for shits and giggles, that it actually connects to this story and world building, and it develops into this more like semi-serious plot towards the middle, and like it's good. It's like good writing and competent writing at the very least, but like I almost kind of wish it was more like shits and giggles, nonsensical fun. But in all, it was still like a pretty fun show throughout. I don't know if Juan has anything to say since he's watched a little bit of this one.
I mean, I only saw up to episode 2, which is where they introduced the streamer concept of it. But man, did I have fun with up to episode 2. And like, I kind of wish I was able to watch more of it, but I just didn't have time for it this season. Would you say this is a show to go worth going back to and finishing, or no?
I feel like this is like the perfect seasonal fun show to watch. Like it wasn't
But
excellent
only
enough that I
for
would
the
tell people to retroactively go back and watch it. But I don't know, maybe you would have fun with it. I don't know.
All right, cool.
Okay. Power hour over. All right, resuming. We have the remake. One of a couple of remakes of some classic anime we got this year. Is the other one being Spice and Wolf, and I guess Bartender. This one is pretty awesome because it's a studio at the top of their game in Mappa coming back and giving a really loving adaptation to a true
I
like
haven't said the name yet, Chris.
pillar of the community. It's Ranma 1/2. I was
Thank you.
getting there. So like a true pillar of the anime community, sort of the grandfather rom-com at this point. Just an absolute classic 90s anime. And I'll be real, I didn't think I was going to like this at all. I didn't like Yurusei Yatsura, and I was like, man, I guess a comedy from like the 80s and early 90s just doesn't hit as hard these days, but this is great. This is genuinely quite funny. It's very endearing. Like, I'm not going to say that every single joke hits and some of it is a little repetitive, but for the most part, the screwball wacky comedy, the extremely like eccentric cast of characters, and the ridiculous sport fight or like sports martial arts combos are just pretty endlessly entertaining. And I had a great time through this whole runtime.
Yeah,
I s-
like I was surprised on how much I was gonna enjoy this show because like we saw episode 1 of Urusei Yatsura and we're like, oh, the comedy did not age well with the show, huh? And like I was expecting the same thing for Ranma, but like I guess the comedy aged better, and like I guess this is like her like second or third work after Urusei Yatsura, so maybe she like did like wisen up on like how to work comedy. It's so much funnier this time. Like I actually like I really thought the whole gimmick of Ranma, you know, being both a guy and a girl, and like switching back and forth between them, like I thought that would get kind of old, but like it always happens so randomly, but like it doesn't feel out of place.
Yeah,
You know,
they
like,
do a good job of balancing it and making it like interesting or funny. Like you'd think the bit of that only a few people actually know that it's the same person, but they like, and like I would say the same applies for what's his name being a pig. Like we still haven't gotten to the point where anyone but Ranma knows that it's the same dude, and they can still milk enough like comedic moments out of that situation that it is working. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, and like I think what surprised me the most is like the animation. Like some of the fight scenes are like very well animated and like unique as well. Like they do like the whole like JoJo color grading, which is incredible to me. Like I more shows need to do that. I love it whenever like fight scenes are unique like that. You're an anime, like do fucking weird shit. I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was surprised on like how much I was like I was wanting to watch more Ranma like as I kept going. So like I'm very happy that season 2 was announced.
Yeah,
And I
I'm
will
genuinely
definitely
looking
be
forward to
watching it.
this and plan on watching the entirety of this runtime of this adaptation. It does also help that apparently compared to the original, this one is being adapted much quicker. So we're really blazing through the source material, and
Well,
I
I'm
have
sure
like
the source material they like took their time with it because they didn't know when
Yeah.
it was gonna end and stuff.
I like the pace. I think it's been good, and I think a lot of shows like this could get bogged down by spending a little bit too much time kind of farting around and not doing very much. But there's been a lot of good development, and just in the short 12 episode runtime we've had, and it doesn't make me feel like it's one of those shows where it's like fucking what's the classic one, Nisekoi, where they're just like, are they ever gonna get together? Who fucking cares anymore? But like clearly, there's been development going on.
I mean, there's like a bit of a formula going on right now. Like, there's definitely like, introduce a character.
Yeah, but it's
introduce a
episodic and
conflict.
like it's episodic in that classic anime kind of way that we don't really get very much of anymore, and I find that to be refreshing personally.
Yeah, it's actually very refreshing to like see this kind of formula again. But like, I think after the shampoo arc, I think that's like all the main characters. So like now we're just gonna see like in season 2, I think we're just gonna see like how they work with each other.
Yeah.
And like how they fight over Ranma and Akane.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, you got anything more to say?
Yeah, as someone who's seen of the USA and watched Ranma as well, I actually don't see much difference between the two shows in the sense that they're both on the wacky, they're both very episodic, they're both endearing at times. So it's a little interesting to see that you guys prefer
I can
Ranma so much more than...
actually nail down I think why. And granted, I didn't watch as much as of Urusei, but I think I just like the characters. I think
I was going to say, I think the biggest difference for the two is that the Ranma main character is much more likable and annoying than Urusei. The Urusei main character, the guy in Urusei reminds me of the guy in Ranma, the karate dude.
Yeah.
Who's always floating
like
at him.
Super simpy.
Who sucks
Yeah, he's
and also
very
doesn't
simpy.
show up very much.
So,
like
if he was like, imagine him as the main character instead, then like I could see like he's a little bit more annoying and people would like him a lot less. So I guess that's maybe one of the main reason. But like there's a lot of the things that you're talking about how it's very episodic, it's very wacky and endearing. There's a lot of those moments too. I also think Ranma is a little bit more focused on the romance than Urusei was. It could just be based on which chapters it shows at that, because like Bruce and Ranma, they're being selective about which chapters they're choosing, picking like the best of instead of doing all the chapters, obviously, because it's like a fucking long ass adaptation. But yeah, I did really like Ranma 1/2, but I don't think Urusei deserves just quite as much hate as you guys were giving it, based on the 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, we only watched the first episode. So I'm sure like it wasn't like enough time to like really like establish
and
the
maybe I
characters.
would have liked it a little bit more, but if I continued it, but I also think that it was enough to get the vibe, and I probably wouldn't have had as much fun with this. It's okay. Maybe sometimes you're an Urusei girly, and sometimes you're a Ranma girly, and that's okay. Maybe me and Juan are just into Ranma.
I could probably argue that Ranma's probably better, but I don't think the difference is like as big as you guys are letting it go.
I believe that for sure. But also I think pretty objectively, Ranma is the more beloved of the two, like by a country mile.
Yeah.
And it's definitely more influential as well.
Well,
I
don't know about influential.
I don't know about influential.
I really did like start the whole like.
Urusei's also older by like a pretty good beat. Like it's like 5 or 6 years, I think. Urusei was very firmly an 80s anime, and Ranma is very firmly a 90s anime. And there was a lot of cultural like differences and style differences. Like anime in the 90s really changed to be something new and different. But anyway.
Urusei was 78 and Ranma was 87.
So they're both like at the tail ends of
and then but Ranma continued into the 90s, I think. So yeah, maybe I'm off slightly. Late 80s versus late 70s, which are very different eras in anime, actually, even more so than the 80s and the 90s, I think. Okay. What else? I don't know if we shouted this out specifically. This looks great. It is maybe the best part is the visuals rule. It's really, really stellar animation. I love the color palette. They do a lot of cool creative things with the like way that characters are animated with colors.
I mentioned the animation with the fight scenes.
It just looks great. It's
OP and ED are great.
Yes.
Dude,
the ED's
I've been obsessed with the song of the ED.
Really,
and, like
really
even
cute.
the ED itself, like it's so. I love a good like unique.
It's a good
style.
ED.
Very good ED.
Oh, it's so nice.
Okay. Let's move on.
Sengoku.
Sengoku Yoko, and now this encompasses basically the whole back half of Sengoku Yoko, I believe. So from the start of the
All of the
Senya
Senya
arc,
stuff,
yeah, all of
right?
the Senya
Yeah.
arc, I believe. Um, and you know what? I haven't read this manga, um, so it's hard for me to get a gauge for the adaptation. I am going to probably say that based on the vibes, that this is maybe like not the best adaptation in the world, but compared compared to the Biscuit Hammer adaptation, it's basically
That's
the
a
Mona
very low
Lisa.
bar.
I was gonna say so.
It's
So
just-
I can't complain that much. I think that this adaptation has some serious pacing issues, but big but when the big pivotal moments hit, when the big emotional moments hit, they hit very hard. And so I was able to enjoy and keep up with it. I think I have a good grasp of the narrative. I am interested in going back to read the manga since I'm such a big fan of Mizukami's other manga and see how it compares, just because that's probably the better way to consume it. But I think this is still a pretty good version of the story. I would turn to Logan to get a better opinion based on that, though.
Yeah, this is kind of an awkward one to talk about because I feel like in a lot of ways this is kind of what you get when you ask for a manga adaptation and you're not like really popular and in Shonen Jump, you know. It's going to have pacing issues. The animation is not going to look as nice as the manga did. Um I think if you're like illiterate, like you don't read manga at all, then this is a perfectly fine way to experience Sengoku Yoko. But it's also, I think, in pretty much every way kind of inferior to the manga, which makes it hard to talk about because, you know, I still think the story is really good. I think that he does a very good job of balancing a cast of about 7 billion
Yeah, there's a lot of
characters.
people in this one.
Uh-huh. And I think that they all have very strong personalities, and like several of them have time to go through arcs. But it's just in the anime, it's all a little herky jerky, and the pacing isn't quite as smooth as it is in the manga. And there's like you don't get as much time. It feels like with the Shogun, as I remember us getting in the manga. And you don't get. I think that the stuff at the end, maybe it was just that like I was getting so hype with the like one fight into another, this is all climaxing over and over again. I thought that was super hype when I read it in the manga. I was like devouring that, and that did not feel the same when we were watching it as a show. um so it's just a little hard to talk about in that way. I think that this isn't bad, but if you can read the manga, you probably ought to.
It feels weird to say this to like a 30, 40 episode adaptation, but it really felt, I don't know, rushed to the point, or it felt like undeserved. I don't know. By the point that we had the big finale climax thing, it really didn't feel deserved, or the stakes were like elevated enough to reach that point where I was pretty like uninvested in these fights and as go on. And it's crazy to me that like that is the big climactic climax of the series between that, but like nothing even comes close to the Shogun fight to me. Like to me, the Shogun was like by far like the highest peak that the show ever reached.
Oh, that's
And
really
that was,
interesting.
like-
The
that you
Shogun
feel like
fight
that.
is really cool.
That's because that's what Logan made it sound like what it was in the manga, and honestly, I didn't feel as much watching that as I did in other parts of the story, just because it was kind of sudden. But I'm glad it hit for Tim. I remember what I was gonna say real quick. I think that a lot of the problem with Sengoku Yoko for me is probably related to how we watched Sengoku Yoko, which I cannot recommend. It is a crackhead thing to do. We tended just based on because we had a big group of people watching this, including people that don't always watch anime with us, and we had to coordinate schedules, including with our friend Mark who lives in Japan. So we watched this in like 3 to 5 episode chunks every 2 months or so, 1.5 months, with some, there are maybe streaks and more consistent, but there were literally sections of this where we were like, man, we haven't watched this show in like at least a month and we don't remember what was happening. And that is not a great way to consume this. I think if you either binged it or watched it weekly, it would probably work a little bit better. So that is an element of it too. I would like to hear from
Thanks.
Juan also if he has anything to say.
So, this is my confession. I barely watch this show.
That's kind of what I suspected. And maybe you shouldn't admit
Mhm.
that on a podcast. You should go read the
like,
manga.
I definitely got like bits and pieces here and there, like the whole Pink Girl whenever she came back. That was very
Shakugan?
cool.
Yeah.
Shakugan.
Shakugan. But like Chris said, like the way we watched it was not conducive to a good watching experience. But also like the adaptation itself, like this is very clearly like this is Studio White Fox. Like they are a pretty competent animation team. This is like their C team. Like
I don't know.
They were just kind of like churning it out.
It's
most of it.
It's never bad.
It's
You know
never
what I mean?
bad,
Like it's
but, like,
it's
like,
not off
never-
model. It's not inconsistent. It looks like a pretty standard anime adaptation, and there are even some pretty high animation peaks in a couple of points. But
It's
yeah,
not bad, but it's
it
not
doesn't
great.
like I wouldn't say it looks as good as most of other White Fox's other stuff like ReZero, but
Yeah, like compared to ReZero, like this is like, ugh.
I don't
But and also like compared to like Dandadan, you know, that was also like airing weekly. Like, I don't know, my standards have been like a little raised, and like
I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying about shows that are really popular and in Shonen Jump. They actually get good adaptations
yeah,
these
and this
days.
is the best we
Yeah.
can get.
The rest of the stuff does not. We're still
Yeah.
back in 2006.
Yeah.
but like yeah, disregarding all that though, like I definitely do want to give this story like another shot. Like I
Me
want to read the
too.
manga.
I plan on reading the manga,
Please
and I
read
will
it, I'm
I will
begging you
admit
guys.
I will admit it's actually been a little bit hard for me to start just because like I liked this anime and I feel like I might have to wait a little bit and then come back to it just because I feel like I just experienced this, and so the idea of slogging through it all from the very beginning again feels a little bit lame to me, and that's kind of prevented me from like wanting to get started on it. So maybe I'll wait a couple of months and come back to it.
As someone who barely paid attention to this show, I
One's
think I can
different.
start
I was
pretty
at
much
least
whenever.
watching it. so and maybe not the whole time, and maybe not 100% the whole time in some of the middle sections. I liked the
Damn.
first arc a lot, I will admit.
I also
That's
That's
not-
interesting.
that's not what we're
'cause
talking
that was
about.
my least favorite part of the manga.
I thought the conclusion of the
I was
first arc
very
was
attached
very
to
good.
the original protagonist.
Yes. Which I mean, I think he's good in the rest of it too. And there are the parts where with Senya's two dads, I thought was very emotional. I really
Two
liked those
dads?
episodes. Yeah, the big furry dads.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
watched the
Oh,
show,
no,
you
no,
might have
that
figured
was-
out about
I
I
that.
thought you meant
A
like
very
actual
important,
dads.
powerful scene.
I thought you meant he had two literal dads.
He basically
No,
does.
you meant like,
Yes.
like two mentors.
Um,
That's what you mean.
And I thought that the very end was really interesting and was very classically Mizukami as it explores like him being immortal and having to like live life. And
Oh,
Yeah,
I love the
I did
time
pay attention to
skip.
that, and that was like,
Excellent
wow.
ending.
Ooh,
that is
is-
like classic Mizukami writing. And I was like, and it was like, ooh, this is really interesting.
I
and
do,
really-
I do like the ending. That
Yeah.
that
I-
ending was pretty cool.
I'm a huge sucker for time skip, kind of exploratory kind of things like that. So like that definitely was the point for me. It was I love seeing what happened to all the characters
Tim,
after when they died.
you should
Huh?
read Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer.
You should.
Yeah, it's
Maybe.
it's
It's got
very
an
good.
excellent epilogue. In
Um,
addition to having
never
an
got a
excellent
decade.
and
Yeah, it
everything
does.
else.
Maybe,
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go ahead and move on. I'm still happy we, honestly, as an achievement of our group watching, a miracle we finished it. I'm glad we got through it. It was fun. It was a fun experience. Let's
Now to a
move
less
on.
good show.
Okay. We
baby,
do have to
disappointment
revisit
of
this
the
one.
year,
We do have to revisit this
2024. All right,
So-
Uzumaki.
We didn't, like I said, we talked about this on the mid-season that never came out, so we're just gonna go ahead and rehash this again. I'll also preface this by the fact that I did not finish this. I had just watched episode 1 and episode 2. I don't know, man. What a fall off. Maybe one of the greatest fall offs of all time. Because I
One of the
still
most
think
catastrophic drops in quality between two episodes I have ever seen.
I still think that episode 1 is a genuine contender for best episode of anime I watched this year, which like makes episode 2 all the worse if you really like think about it. It is
Mm-hmm.
I think this will go down in history. I don't know, maybe it's just cursed and it's like you should never ever try to adapt what's his name's works ever again. Like,
Junji
yeah,
Ito.
Junji Ito. He's just cursed. We can't do it. Maybe trying to adapt something as iconic as Uzumaki was a mistake. I don't know.
No, it's
Well,
not. Like
hold on. Here's my thing about this, because this anime did something really horrible in my mind. It disproved the curse in episode 1. It showed that you absolutely, if you put in enough care and budget, can make a really good Junji Ito adaptation, and then it crapped the bed. It proved to us once and for all that it was not like his work is not haunted. His work is not too special to ever be adapted. We're just really bad at adapting his work.
Like I want like a competent studio to pick up a Junji Ito project, because like if like Madhouse or like fucking Mappa, why
Like
not?
a good director that is capable of organizing and like executing the workload, which was the problem with this production, is that they spent too much time on the first episode, and then I don't know if it was the execs at Adult Swim or whoever. They were like, "You're taking too long. We're cutting you, and we're gonna bring in a side studio to finish it," which is what happened, and why the rest of it went off. It's because the director that worked on episode 1 lost the project, and the rest of it was ass as a result. And maybe he was being too ambitious. I just don't understand why they didn't just make it a movie. Like work on it until it's done. Keep it the same level of quality as episode 1, and maybe that's not financially viable. I don't know. But then just release it as a movie instead of this 4-part like Adult Swim special. And it's not like that's what pisses me off about Uzumaki. It's not like there aren't anime movies coming out every year that have the animation level that the first episode of Uzumaki does. Like, I'm sure the Reze movie for Chainsaw Man is going to have even better animation than episode 1 of Uzumaki had. Like, and obviously they're working with more money probably for a project like that. I don't know. It's just frustrating. It can be done. We've seen that it can be done.
Yeah, you're right. Like 4 episodes is the length of a movie.
It's
like,
just a movie. Yeah.
So like 20 minutes times 4, that's 80 minutes. Like that's totally doable for a movie. And like I genuinely like I think that could sell. Like as a movie,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Uzumaki could do well in a theater.
I don't know. Horror is a weird genre, but like I don't know.
I want to see episode 4 of Uzumaki, because like the whole ending of Uzumaki is fucking insane.
Yes.
And, like,
I
want to
cannot
see
imagine
how
what it's
they
going to
butcher
look
that.
like.
I want to see how,
Um,
because like I saw none of it on Twitter somehow, but like I
because I think
definitely
people
saw
were too
stuff
hurt
like
by
that.
it.
There
Like,
was some clips on Twitter for the last episode.
there was, I know, and like the spiral staircase, which is insanely bad. Oh my god! Please, anime industry, learn from this mistake. Don't
I don't know
let
if
something
they
like this
will.
happen again. Okay,
Honestly, I think that. Oh, go ahead, Juan.
there's still Tomie to adapt from Junji Ito. That's another like good. Uzumaki was like his magnum opus in my opinion. Tomie is still really good as well. Please adapt it to a movie. Just do that, and we can finally get over his curse.
I think that maybe Adult Swim should just stop trying to co-produce anime, because I'm pretty sure that they've missed basically every single time. At least this year, they had notable misses, including the Suicide Squad anime and then this. And that's not a very good track
Suicide
record.
Squad was not Adult Swim. That was HBO.
That was HBO.
Yep.
I mean, that's
Mhm.
still Warner Brothers in general, and like,
Yeah, I guess Warner Brothers does own Cartoon Network, so yeah, I guess.
but like,
Plus, like the Fully Cooley sequels are cursed.
yeah,
Those
they
are
really
not something that are ever going to
especially
be
the
good.
CGI one, the most recent one. I heard that one was really bad.
Is that the third or the fourth one?
It's the third one.
Okay. Is there a fourth one? I don't know.
No, there's only
No,
3.
that was the last one.
Okay.
So, either way, I don't know. Get your shit together. I mean, obviously, me telling Warner Brothers to get their shit together when fucking Zizalak is at the head, completely destroying it.
We should
piece by
Luigi
piece.
Maggioni him.
I didn't say it on this podcast, but Juan did.
I
Hey,
feel like
I
we're getting
didn't
a
see
little
what
off
that
topic
means.
here.
I could have
I
an
can't
entire
believe you
hour
called
long.
him Zizalak.
Zizek, whatever the fuck his name is.
It's
Zaslav?
Zach. It's Zaslav. Yes.
Zaslav. Wow, I'm way off.
Zack is the philosopher.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of. I don't want him
And
to be
Zizalak
I don't
is
want him to
probably
be
a
Luigi.
wizard.
I kind of want him to be Luigi.
Or a Star Trek monster. I don't know, one of the two.
Huh?
Either way, we're way
Roll
off
track.
topic.
That's a Free Run reference.
Oh wow, that's anime full circle. Okay. All right. We are wrapping up. Let's go ahead and do a top 3 for all the fall anime. Starting with Juan.
All right, pickings were slim with this one. So my top 3 include Dandadan, Ranma 1/2, and Mecha Ude.
You're never gonna believe out of the 3. So I watched 4 shows this season, and so mine are gonna be Dandadan, Ranma 1/2, and I'll actually give my other to Negaposi Angler.
There we go. Spread the love out.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, coming in at number 3, Dandadan. At number 2, it's gonna be Dandadan. And at number 1, I really only finished Dandadan this season.
Well, I mean, your top 3 could have been Dan, and then Dan.
Yeah, there you go. And then we are actually recording this at a later time because we had to finish it, and Tim is not available, but he has sent in his. His top 3 in reverse order are the Beastar's final season that we didn't get to finish, and the Natsume Yujin, the new season of it, and then Dandadan at number 1. So a consistent theme. Could you tell we like Dandadan in this podcast episode?
Maybe it's one of the best
We
shows of all
really like
time.
much
Who
else.
knows?
All right. Next episode coming out should be our spring preview. A lot of really good stuff coming out in spring. Should be a pretty spicy season. And until then, we will see you guys next time.
All right, later.